All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it means to be a Scorpio Ascendant or a Scorpio Rising person. Now, this aspect can be, again, there are always pros and cons. So if you look at what I'm wearing, I figured it would be a good time to do this because I actually had to meet with people that I didn't know today. And you're gonna notice that the colors that I'm wearing are reds and purples. They're dark, they're blacks. There are clean lines. You know, your ascendant sign or your rising sign represents the way that people see you immediately. So when you're meeting someone for the first time, this is the way that they're going to perceive you, right? So by watching this video right now, you know nothing about me, but everything that you see is representative of Scorpio, essentially. If you know what the characteristics of Scorpio are, you probably know that they can be seen as being people who are generally a little darker, a little more unseen, like intentionally unseen. I'll tell you that I am not very friendly per se. I am not someone who would walk up to you and really introduce myself openly. Like, not that I wouldn't, but generally you respond to other people, but you tend to be fairly private. So, you know, there's a lot that I'm always looking to conceal. A lot of times you can tell if someone has this specific rising sign based on, again, what colors they wear, how they speak, what they look like. If you just look at me, I look kind of intense. It's like there's an intensity. You can tell based off of the eye contact. You can tell based off of the color scheme that they have. There's an inherent interest in the unknown, or like anything that's meta, anything transformative. That's a keyword that tends to come up a lot. Let's see. Anything related to like fate and destiny and the wheel, things that are cyclic, they tend to be interested in anything taboo, myth. And there are many placements that will obviously dictate how someone speaks and what they want to speak about. But recognize that the 8th house is the natural house of Scorpio. Scorpio is the 8th sign. So if you know what the 8th house represents, which is sex, death, magic, unknown, you know, transformation, occult knowledge, mystery, UFOs, like anything mysterious is dictated by the 8th house. So if you're pulling the 8th house into the 1st house, which is what the rising sign is, this is the 1st house that you look at, and it determines your characteristics. Like, it determines your character. It's the way that the world sees you. For instance, you are probably someone who's like, if you have any sort of social media, you might hide your image. You might not want people to see you. Like, being on camera is very difficult for me because I don't like to be seen. I don't like people seeing who I am. Privacy is supremely important. And there's just this air of intensity. So it comes in different stages of life, but let's kind of touch on how it fluctuates so much. So because you're already a water sign, you're a hyper psychic person. You might not actually be psychic, but you have this natural mystical awareness. So people recognize you. When you meet them, you might seem familiar in a way, or people just notice your presence. Like if you walk into a place that you haven't, or you know no one, and say it's like a restaurant or a cafe, a lot of times you will notice that people are aware of you. So you might even be really sensitive to energy. You might even be really sensitive to other people because you are an embodiment of everything that is the 8th house. So you could be a very good spy. You could be someone who works in anything that's related to those fields. Like, law enforcement comes up, occult practices, yoga, healing, like alternative healing, anything that's alternative, anything that's deviant, anything that's taboo, tarot, astrology, and recognize also that Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and Mars is a Martian energy, and it's intense, it's hot. So you could have a temper, or because you're also a water sign, you could have a lot of fluctuation with the way that your emotionality is seen. So you're gonna try to reveal only what you want to reveal, and you don't really want the public to know what your thoughts are or how you're feeling. There's this methodical structure about them, and you can notice that in everything that they do. You can notice that even in their style. And again, there are many placements that would affect this, but generally there will be very clean lines and darker colors, probably more natural colors, but between red, we'll have reds, browns, purples, blacks. Those are colors that make them feel empowered. And I wanted to show you, or just break down what it is that I'm wearing so that you can see a direct relationship. So again, I talked about this color. There's this, because they're representative of the 8th house, the 8th house is also significant of history in a way, like the old world. And if you just look at the things that are here, these things are very old, but they're very geometric and they're very clean. What's in this cup is not hot. It's a cooling. It's it's helpful to basically temper an already hot nature, right? So they tend to lean towards wearing lots of blacks, maybe golds, even silver, but because they're such enigmatic and determined people, there's like this urge for power that they have, and they find a lot of power in not only having nice things, but having things that are timeless. You know, it's like this classical, it's like this antiquity. And that is a personal opinion, but that is my experience of it. So the way that people generally interact with Scorpio rising are it tends to vary. Some people can be very maybe a little timid, a little fearful. It's like if you're in a store, they might suspect that you're doing something wrong. Like you might be seen as a possible criminal. Like you have such a dark enigma about you that it's almost like you're on this cusp of just being a villain almost, even though you might not actually be that way, like when someone talks to you. And that's probably pretty true for most people. Once you start talking to them, you're going to see more of other planets that are in their chart reflected, but this is just the outward external appearance. If they own a house or drive a car, it's probably going to be dark, it's probably going to be hidden, or there's going to be some sort of secrecy, like the blinds might be closed, the windows might be tinted. They're not going to openly share their life. And even with partners, if you are able to count through the houses, you know, there are 12 houses. Because Scorpio is the first house, if you move over to the 7th house represents partnerships. And the 7th house here is going to be Gemini. So the way that you interact with people, and specifically people that you're in a relationship with or people that you work with, is very hot and cold because you have this Gemini nature. So you could be really cheerful and kind one day and the next day be really exotic and temperamental. That will never change. Another house that's pretty important to talk about when you have a Scorpio rising is that, you know, coming back to that power aspect, they're power hungry people. They want to be the boss, they want to be in charge, and their 10th house is ruled by Leo. So we know that Leo is, you know, the lion. Leo is the king, right? So maybe you're not the king, but you could be the queen. You want to be the one that is the authority. And even if you're not, you probably will end up working for yourself, or if you work with multiple people and you're not in charge, you're going to want to do something that allows you to be autonomous and self-directed in some way. And again, this is not applicable to everyone, but in some form, you will want to be the best. There is this competitive nature that is you are birthed into, and you might not even think about it in a competitive way because it doesn't really matter. You're going to be the star in your workplace. You're going to be celebrated, and that may come with some aggression from others. That may, you might not be the favorite, but in some way you will be an asset in your career. You will shine in your career. So things that are important to consider with having this ascendant sign: if you are in an agitated state, you do not want to give any, you do not want to facilitate more aggression. So think about what you think about. Think about what you think about. Try to imagine all the things that come to mind when that word is said, right? You can think of colors that you may not want to wear, like reds, oranges, even anything bright and intense. Even like a black. Black might be a little neutral, but you would want to wear colors that are opposite of that, so that your already heavy energy, your already intense nature is diminished. This is going to help people receive you in a kinder way, because you already have a masculine character. And it can be feminine as well, but it's masculine in that it's dominant. It's very dominant. And you can be feminine and be dominant, but just ignore the gender. It doesn't even matter. It's about the intensity that is received. So if you're a woman with this placement, other women will probably be a little bit intimidated by you or threatened by you. If you are a man, I don't know, because I'm not a man with this rising sign, but that is my experience thus far. Obviously, gender, we don't have to talk about that for that long, but that is just one facet to consider. So, what are things that can help you better understand the way that the world sees you? So if you're marketing yourself, or if you're trying to sell yourself in a way for whatever it is that a goal or something that you want to achieve, recognize that the words that you say, the image that you have, the first impression that you leave on someone is going to be powerful. And it doesn't matter if you are prepared for that or not. You could be on an off day and taking your trash out. It doesn't matter, because anyone who sees you is still going to have that. They're going to know immediately that you have this intensity about you. You're probably not someone who talks to like people on the street, and you probably don't even really know the people that live around you, because you don't want to share that with anyone. Not that you don't want to know the people that live around you. It's just it's embedded in your nature to protect yourself. So because of that, you're probably, you could be like a caretaker, even a nurse, someone who works in like emergencies, like in an intense field, like ICU, ER, or even just, I mean, I could talk about that for a long time, but that just comes up, so we'll mention it briefly. And here's something that's also really important. You're not married to any image. You are not fixed on one look. You like being able to transform into different people. You've probably lived in a number of places and looked like many different people. Even, you know, you've probably just become a variety of people in your life. You may even take on like different, some people say different names or different personas, but to you, that's just a way to better understand yourself. And because this is your character, this is kind of your foundation in a sense. I guess your sun is more of your foundation, but this is a major energy of you. It's like sprinkled on every aspect of your chart. So it's always going to be the first thing that you see, right? So you could be like a dreamer in a way, like a wanderer, or you might like to go to different places just so that you feel like things are changing. And even going to places that are maybe a little older, like places that have history, let's say like old historic sites or big bodies of water, being close to water. You're a water sign, right? So you innately want to live by that element. And if you don't live by that element, you probably find that you feel more at peace when you're closer to things that are like that, to environments like that. Or at least the way that people remember you will be characterized by that element. There's almost this, if you understand the Piscean nature, there's this overlap in the Piscean and the Scorpionic relationship there. I'm not sure what else there is to say about it. Like, I'll give you an example. This is the first thing that you see, like possession of mine, right? It's black, it's dark. And then we're gonna see everything in here is very simple. There's a function to it, and there's not a lot of glitz, like, and everything is dark. See, this phone case is very dark, but there's like this hidden aspect to it. Like, what is that? You know, you can see even like if someone were to pick up my phone and they didn't know me, this screensaver, it's like there's this old history to it. It's black and white, and there's a snake. Like, it's a very powerful and dark at the same time. So I might continue this, but I just wanted to get this out to begin, because sometimes you're in different states, and depending on the day, you can kind of tap into different energies, right? All right. Thank you so much.